Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of 5 Facts. We're here to talk about Panos Cosmatos' Mandy. This is a 2018 movie starring Nicolas Cage, and it is an awesome heavy metal pulp movie. Anyway, let's get to the facts. Fact number 1. This movie was therapeutic for Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage had just lost his father, gone through a third divorce, and actually broken his foot on the set of another movie. He was in a wheelchair, he was having to walk with a cane the rest of the time, and he just generally was not doing good. And this movie kind of helped lift him out of that, especially because one of the central themes of this movie is loss. You see him dealing with so many things in this movie, and you see this haunted expression that he has, and I really think it worked for him. He isn't the best actor in the world. A lot of people love Nicolas Cage. I don't think he's great in a lot of things. I think he is just Nicolas Cage. But in this movie, he stepped up that kind of forlorn feeling, that craziness, everything that he needed to do to make this awesome. He was approached by Elijah Wood for this movie, and Elijah Wood asked him that if he would be the cult leader. But because of all that he was going through, he felt like he connected a lot more with Red, and decided that that was the character he wanted to play. For a little bit, the producers, the directors kind of balked at this because they wanted to have a young person playing Red, have a young versus old type situation. But afterwards, they kind of came to their senses and decided that yes, this is going to work. I think it actually works a little bit better because you can tell that Mandy is a little bit damaged too, and a lot of times that ends up being in a huge age disparity in a relationship, and it worked better for their story. Fact number 2, like a giallo film, this movie is doused in color. What Panos uses is called Panaflares. Nothing to do with his name, it's just part of the whole Panavision thing where you're filming on 35mm film but putting in a widescreen aspect ratio. The Panaflares are actually done by using a lot of LEDs pumped straight into the camera to kind of soften the light. And you see that all over this movie. It makes it so that it's absolutely just drenched in usually reds, but sometimes other colors as well. It gives it sort of an ethereal, psychedelic feel. And I absolutely love this style. It goes back to giallo films from back in the day. They also put a high-grain filter on this to give it more of that 80s feel, since this was supposed to be happening in the 1980s. Cosmatos was talking about how he heard Ridley Scott say that rain and darkness will hide a lot of flaws in a film. And it's a great way to save a lot of money. And since they couldn't afford rain for this one, they decided to use a lot of darkness, and that really helped bring this out. He also said that Martin Scorsese helped him realize that sometimes using a frame is like using a paintbrush. You can do whatever you want. It's truly artistic. It's not just a static way of telling the story, but of painting this full-on vivid picture, and it really shows in this work. Fact number 3, Jeremiah Sand has a lot of characteristics that are shared with Charles Manson. Charles Manson was a musician, and so is Sand, and they both had very violent reactions when people didn't like their music. It was one of their pet peeves that could really get them pissed off very, very quickly. Also, Charles Manson very rarely did any of his own dirty work. He had his thugs do that, and this is something that Sand does as well. One of the other things that's kind of a unique way of saying it is they both referred to their victims or non-cult people as pigs. That was just a big part of the vernacular that they used. And I don't know, like the way they did this, it's not that they acted the same, it's that the characters just had a lot of similarities. Because Linus Roche did a fantastic job of being this kind of strange, ethereal character. And Charles Manson was a little bit more intense than that, a little bit twitchier, a little bit more like straightforward. And both of them worked exceedingly well for this. Like, both ideas could have worked, but I like the way they did it for Mandy to give the character just a little bit of a different flavor. Fact number 4. During filming, they almost burned down a historical site. One of the things a lot of people don't realize about this, it was actually filmed in Belgium. It looks like the Pacific Northwest, and it's meant to be set in Oregon or Washington, one of the two. But they were able to find some really good spots in Belgium to do the filming. While they were using one of the sites there, they accidentally caught it on fire. There's a scene where you see Nicolas Cage walking through kind of a garage, and there's gasoline canisters and everything else all around. And both Panos and Cage were so focused on it that they were just in the scene. They didn't realize that the assistant director was yelling, "Cut, cut, cut!" and the entire cast was starting to run from the scene. But Nicolas Cage says he likes those sort of action things because it allows him to kind of like calm down and get into a flow state. So he's a little bit weird with that. Fact number 5, popcorn facts. The person who directed the Cheddar Goblin mac and cheese commercial is actually the one who did Too Many Cooks on Adult Swim. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but it is one of the weirdest shorts I have ever seen. The number 44 has a lot of different possible origins. Some say it was Jackie Robinson's number. Some say that it was actually from a book done by Mark Twain that was never finished called The Mysterious Stranger. The character was called Number 40. He used his powers to expose the futility of mankind's existence. I have not read this one, but this is just some of the weird research that I was finding online. People also said that it was sort of a Son of Sam type thing, where he was he used a 44. And there's a lot of different things that this could go into. It was weird how many people claimed they knew the exact thing for this. Linus Roche was a little bit apprehensive about showing his full dick on camera, something that he hadn't really done before, and it's also a little bit weird whenever you're basically pulling your dick out and having somebody laugh at it, so he was a little apprehensive. But then he thought about how Margot Robbie on Wolf of Wall Street just kind of went with it because it made sense for her character to do that. It's not something she would normally do, but she fully embraced it and went all out, and the world is better for it. The weapon forged by Red is actually based off of a logo from the Celtic Frost metal band. There's a lot of heavy metal influences in this, and that's just another one of them. Mandy is a fascinating, kind of perfect horror movie to me in a lot of ways. Like, it can look a little bit cheap on the edges and things like that. They did it for a lower budget, but it's so much fun and it's so trippy. It's like a bad mushroom trip mixed with a heavy metal album and just doused in bright colors and darkness and just emotion and a crazy Nicolas Cage, which is everybody's favorite Nicolas Cage. I can't even tell you how much this movie is actually just awesome. There's a reason why it got a 4-minute standing ovation at Cannes. Like, that's pretty rare for any movie, and for a horror movie to get that is exceedingly awesome. And this is Panos Cosmatos' second movie. Yeah, his dad did Tombstone, like, there's a pedigree there, but that doesn't automatically make you a good filmmaker. He just did such a fantastic job, and I can't wait to see what he does with his career. I'm so glad that Elijah Wood and Spectre Vision actually gave them a shot to make this, and it's just great. So I would highly recommend checking this out. I'd love to hear what you guys thought about this movie. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Did you think that the cult leader was awesome? What made you happy in this? Do you have any criticisms? Did Nicolas Cage ruin it for you like some people have said? I think that this is fantastic. 92% over on Rotten Tomatoes, despite its violence, its gore, its everything. So please, tell me what you thought in the comments. Also, hit that sub button, hit the bell if you want notifications, and finally, hit patreon.com/humanechoes. If you want us to keep making this sort of content, we need more patrons. $2, $5, $10 a month. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Put your comments down here on what you want me to make a 5 facts for next. I would love to hear it. Have a good day.